Alright, so I have a post up right now talking about the out of Africa theory. And my question is the out of Africa theory racist? And we already had like a long discussion about this. And my conclusion is yes, it's racist. It's based on Darwinism. It's based on the theory of evolution. It's based on eugenics. All the things that it started out as a means to make African and Negroid people of color, seen as inferior. Now you can argue no. That out of Africa is not racist, but when you really look down at it, it's saying that people of color, the original people, started out as apes, and then evolved into Negroid people, whatever you want to call the black people. I don't really use the word black, and then going from that, it evolved into the different other ethnic groups in between, and then it went to the European person, and that is showing the evolution from an ape to a European. And in my opinion, that seems very racist to me, to say that an African or a dark-skinned person is closest to an ape. So, I mean, a couple of people disagree. They try to say, well, based on science, based on evolution, that it is correct. But I mean, who's coming up with these theories? Who came up with the theory of evolution? That's Charles Darwin. And Darwin was known to have, him and his cousin who started the Eugenics Movement, were known to have a very strong racial bias against other people who were not European, and particularly Western Europeans, because they also, if you actually look up eugenics and you look up the theory of evolution and the whole eugenics movement, you will see that even people from Eastern Europe, the Slavs, the people that they had for slaves for thousands of years in Europe, those people are depicted as animals. You go look at the pictures, they got them looking all like Neanderthals and all types of creatures. So even within their own lighter pale coloring, they had a discrimination going on against the Slavic people, or the darker hair, darker featured, what they call ethnic white. Those people, they even had them, being inferior to the Western European person. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, I don't believe that any good can come from that, especially when they're using it to connect all people to Africa. And what that is doing is leaving Africa vulnerable for all people to come and take from it. Because, hey, if y'all saw that, it was like a documentary, and then they also had a couple of articles talking about how Chinese people descended from African people. Now, as you guys know, Chinese people are now in Africa exploiting the land. They're bringing in corporations, and they're taking out the natural resources that Africa has, and they're taking it to bring wealth to China. What they're also doing is they're there exploiting the people. They're having them doing laborious jobs, and then they're also marrying the local women so they can become part of the bloodline, and that will also give them benefits and rights to the land. So when you're saying everyone's from Africa, it's like, okay, so Africa is up for grabs. Like anybody, people from India have been coming in, people from China. You already know the Europeans came in and carved up the whole continent. So the out of Africa theory goes hand in hand with all that, and it goes hand in hand with evolution, and it goes hand in hand with eugenics. So please look up the eugenics movement. A lot of the eugenics movement is based on the extermination of the indigenous people of all different land masses. Now, some people might know about Walter Plecker from Virginia. He was he handled a lot of the records, the including everybody in the group. People don't have their identity, even within the continent of Africa, even within territories and countries within Africa. People, there's like hundreds and thousands and millions of different tribes, different cultures, different appearances, different families. People, I mean, it's good to be united, but people also should be celebrated for their individuality. So clumping everybody together saying, oh, everybody on planet Earth is African and everybody's out of Africa, that doesn't it just doesn't sit well to me. It doesn't sound logical to me. And plus the whole thing is we are on the planet Earth, right? So why wouldn't everybody be Earthlings, or what they used to call it, Terrans? This is called Terra. Earth is called Terra. Terra means land in Latin or Spanish, one of those old languages. So why aren't we all Terrans or Earthlings? They're saying people are African. They're saying there's African Asians. There's African Melanesians. African Americans. There's African European. I mean, it's like we are. There's nothing wrong with Africa. Don't get me wrong. I love Africa. That's not my point. By me saying that this theory is not logical to me does not mean I have a problem with Africa or African people. You know, I do not. I'm raising a question. I'm raising a thought. I'm trying to spark everyone's minds to see what is going on and see how the planet is suffering because of these theories and these actions based on the theories, really, because a lot of Indigenous Americans were slaughtered. A lot of people in Africa were slaughtered. They're still being slaughtered because of the racist ideology behind eugenics, behind the out of Africa theory. Now, the theory itself is, if you really look down at it, it's really kind of taken away from all our indigenous oral history, because most of the tribes did not say that we came from another place. We might have came from this place, that place, and then other tribes were already there, and then the tribes came here and there. So it's more of a tribal thing, and it's saying somewhere is Africa. Like, we didn't have these borders, we didn't have these continents, you know. All right, let me see what you guys are saying, Kia. It said, my question to the people who believe the out of Africa theory is, was the Americas underwater while Africa was above water? If the answer is no, why wouldn't America be populated? Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either. It's like, so where was all the animals? So all the animals, they got up and they got on boats, or they walked across the Bering Strait, and it's like, what? You know, where were all the the trees? Are all from Africa? All the trees African? All the dogs, all the birds African? We're on one planet. Everything and everyone, all the environmental elements are from the planet. I mean, you can't just pinpoint one area. You know, why pick one spot? He said Africa was the Carthaginian territory in Libya. Yeah, Africanus is also, Africa also had that name before they were invaded by the Romans. So it's not, you know, what the Europeans used to do is name themselves after the land. So like Americos Vespucci, his name ain't really Americos. He named himself after America. There's already, some of the tribes have already named it. Amaruka, you know, Amari, Tamari. Same for Africa. You know, it's different names were already established before. And then the victor, which the Europeans used to do, used to name themselves after the land or the people that they conquered. So you say all wild. That's what I'm saying, Kia. They're saying all wildlife, like everything, you know, just flew from Africa to Australia to Antarctica and you know, all. It's kind of frustrating when you think about it, because like people want to listen to what they're told. They don't want to research for themselves. They don't want to go and sit and think about things. They'd rather be told about things. They'd rather have a book to go read and be instructed instead of learning and creating for themselves. They'd rather be instructed. People want to be robots. Let's face it, especially our people. They like to be told. And it's something in the genetics that's been passed down to just shut up and obey and listen and don't question anything because it's safe. So, yeah, that's all I'm saying. People, if you look up eugenics, you will see the answer right then. The Eugenics Movement was very big in the turn of the century, around the late 1800s, early 1900s. The Eugenics Movement started a lot of the paper genocide in America, the indigenous people. They ripped families apart. People got hung. They got murdered. Walter Plecker, who started a lot of the paper genocide, he really was just continuing what had been happening for hundreds of years. He actually was a consultant to the Nazis. So this goes all the way to Nazi Germany and all the way back. So I was watching a video earlier. A sister was talking about eugenics, and she was talking about how the Nazis were getting pardons from the U.S., from Brazil, from other European countries, from other places, and they were people still didn't get persecuted for what they did. But the whole point is the eugenics, the out of Africa, all those things are connected. Those people are connected. Charles Darwin and I can't remember his name, the guy who created eugenics or who forefronted the movement. They were cousins. They were related. So it had an influence on the eugenics movement, which was to basically show that everyone else was inferior to Western Europeans. And it's part of a manifest destiny as well, that they were destined by their God to control the planet, to control America and other lands, and control all the resources and all the people. So most of the government officials have German surname. A lot of them do, but a lot of them, like I live in the Washington D.C. area. A lot of these government officials are just like you and I. They're just there for their check because you get paid a lot of money for government. And everyone in the government isn't bad, of course, but there's certain people in certain positions that just, like I said, they just do what they're told. It's not really, there's no room to change things. You just take orders. Like a lot of those people were former military anyway, so they're used to taking orders. So, I hope you guys can hear me clear. I got this little microphone on. But yeah, so I believe it's racist. Now you can have your own opinion if it's racist or not. It also has a link to our identity, how we identify ourselves, because some people, instead of doing the research and finding out about our indigenous heritage, or they might have heritage in another place, they're like, oh, we all African anyways. I might as well not have knowledge of self. I might as well not do my genealogy. I might as well not, find out anything about anywhere else, because Africa's the motherland. It all goes back to Africa. That's what people are saying. That's not accurate to me, in my opinion. So I'm just a regular person. I'm not super scholar or these paid off people who work at universities. I'm just a regular person who care about the people who's been trying to do research on things. Open our minds, keep us informed. It's that white supremacy. This is racist. It's a cornerstone of white supremacy. Well, they're not supreme. I don't use the word white supremacy because I don't believe anybody is supreme, especially not people who've done what has been done by them or their ancestors. So you can say colonization. They colonize, yeah. I wouldn't say they're supreme. No, what they did is manipulate and took advantage of people who are already vulnerable, who are already trying to be friendly because they already had contact. Now you guys, this goes back to the history that a lot of people do not research and do not understand, is that whole narrative of Christopher Columbus and all this stuff, and they came here and they just discovered land in 1492. No, they were doing test runs for hundreds of years before that. They don't tell you that they've already been here. They've already established alliances with indigenous tribes in America. And that is the only way that they were not killed. Like if I tell you the story of Jamestown and things like that. Chief Powhatan, his name is pronounced Powhatan, not Powhatan. Chief Powhatan had already been to Europe. He had already knew the language. He had already been interacting with those people because when he was a teenager, either they kidnapped him or he volunteered to go with Europeans, and he went to New Spain, which we call Mexico. Now, the history of the Powhatan is tribes within the Powhatan are actually from Mexico. They are the She people, X-I, She people. So those people have a connection with Mexico. So he went to Mexico. He already had that connection with those people there because those are his people. And what a lot of people don't know is that indigenous people traveled within the Americas, and then we traveled to other places. So we were not confined. It was only those people in that corner of Western Europe who were isolated and who were, I wouldn't say condemned, but they were quarantined into that area by the other groups, by African groups, by the Moors for hundreds of years. So they couldn't go out and explore. And when the Moors finally let them in on what was going on, that's when they devised this plan to basically overthrow the Moors of Europe, to go to Africa and take over areas over there and create plantations there, and then come to the Americas and do the same thing, to come and dominate the people, come and take over the resources, and then become the people. Like they did in Europe. They became the Europeans, even though they're not indigenous to Europe. They went to Africa. We got the Afrikaans in South Africa who claimed that they're African. They got them Europeans in other areas of Africa claiming African. And we got people here who look European, who are pale, claiming to be Native Americans. So, do you see what the cycle is and how that comes in with Manifest Destiny, which was a part of the Eugenics Movement? All that connected to the theory of evolution because Charles Darwin was involved with the Eugenics Movement with his cousin. I mean, people are saying that it didn't really start until after he died, but people were already in talks before that. He was actually friends with his cousin and his cousin's friends. They were all friends. Like, they didn't sit around and talk about this stuff. The royal bloodline of Powhatan are She. They're She people. We are She from Mexico. The She were misnomered the Olmecs. So that's the connection with that. We also have Jack Forbes, who is of Powhatan descent, had already done research on how She people and other people went and colonized Europe and also other parts of the Americas, and some people actually went to Melanesia and the South Pacific Islands as well. So it's a lot of history that's been hidden, that has been, secret, and now it's just coming out because people actually have access to the primary sources. We can go to the library, we can go online to the online databases and look up this information. See, Kia, you said, I believe that the theory is solely based on money. If it wasn't for claiming resources, they wouldn't even mention it. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why it's racist. They think we're fools. They think, oh, we're going to just be excited because everybody's African and everybody's came from the melanated person, or the melanated person is original. All right, we've been knew that we're the originals. They already said that them and other different appearances are, from mutation. Excuse me. I'm out here. I'm outside. But I mean, it's okay. We're supposed to just be happy with that, and then we're supposed to just sit down and not even say nothing about what's going on in Africa, what happened here. All our resources are going to Europe. All of Europe's wealth is coming from all these different places that they colonized. Now, Vietnam, they tried to pull that stuff in Vietnam, and Vietnam wasn't having it. The French tried to do that, and that's where the Vietnam War came about. So they weren't having it. They stood up. They went to war, for their land and for their resources and for their, they didn't want to be basically enslaved by these people. They didn't want to be taken advantage. That's where the Vietnam War came from. So, yeah, I'm just saying, y'all. I think it's really racist. I think it's kind of like, it's an insult to our intelligence in a way. Because saying that humans are apes and that dark-skinned humans are closest to the apes, and it evolved, the theory of evolution, we evolved into the more advanced, pale European race. That's exactly what it's saying. So if people actually go back and don't be emotional and don't be, I don't want to listen to news, something new. I don't want to do the research. I just want to keep my same theory, so I can keep my RBG flag up in the background. I can keep my whatever, my African medallions. You can still have that. I mean, people want to be characterized, I think. They want to be part of a group. They want to have a group think. They want to have a sense of identity. But you have to have your identity. You got to find the real identity. You got to look through all of this foolishness that's been caked on and layer on top layer. You got to think out of the box, because they're going to give you what they want to give you to keep you where you are now. That's plain and simple. They want to keep people under control. They want to keep people in a state of a sleep state. That's why you got to wake up. You got to wake up. And me personally, other people might not agree. I agree with the unification of the majority. The majority being melanated people across the globe. A lot of people don't want to connect with us in America because of our attitudes. And they said, we don't even know who we are. We claiming this thing, we claiming that, we claiming this. Even if you have a certain heritage from somewhere else, you have African ancestry. We have been here for hundreds of years. We have created a new culture. We have become a new people. Most of us, if you actually look at the slave trade primary documents, most of the slaves were Indigenous Americans. Only around, give or take a good number, 300,000 were mainly young men that were brought in from Africa. And a lot of people don't even believe that theory now that they're looking at where is because all the documentations for the slave ships keep changing or disappearing. So some people don't believe that. But I believe that, that small amount of Africans came to the British Americas, the United States. Canada, all the Canada, the United States, Alaska, that counts as British North America. So, I mean, hey, you can believe what you want to. Just do the research. That's all I said. If you disagree, please do the research and find out the truth, your own truth for yourself. All right? That's the whole part of eugenics, was stripping us of our identity. And they went back and they rewrote the history books, to change certain things. And they didn't think, they think, we're not going to read books. We're not going to go to the Library of Congress. We're not going to the archives. We're not going to look up this information because we got movies, we got teachers, we got, people reinventing history telling us who we are. What I'm saying? Even though the evidence is right in our face, they know because the way people are conditioned. Even if we see the evidence, we're going to deny it. We're going to be like, fake. This is a cartoon drawing, or whatever these people say. This is a meme. Even though there's thousands, on top of thousands of pictures of the indigenous people of America looking like me and looking like you. So people still gonna say those are just drawings. Oh, those people. What they say? Somebody said that the European people who drew them, never stepped foot in America. Thousands of pictures. I see if it was like 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 pictures. Thousands on top of thousands of pictures, and then every month we keep finding more and more pictures. We keep finding more and more information in these old books that have been hidden. So how can all those people be wrong? How can hundreds of thousands, millions of our ancestors, our elders, be wrong, saying that they have indigenous heritage, that they are indigenous? How can all these people be wrong? And this is something that happened recent with the 1960s and the 70s with the Black Pride movement and things like that. They wanted to, all the stuff in South Africa was going on, things in Africa was going on that was in the news, and they wanted to connect with the African people. So, so was invented the African American. And people like Jesse Jackson, he's the one that coined that phrase, who made it popular. And he's, his grandmother, his mother, and all of them in Cherokee. So he knows he has Cherokee heritage, but he's talking about African American. And that's another thing. When you say African American, and you have other ethnicities in your bloodline, how can that be accurate? There's people that's half Italian or something talking about the African American. I can see you identifying with being black and being black culture. Yes, that's different. But how are you African American when you're half Italian American? How are you African American when you have indigenous American heritage? Your grandmother was vehement about being Indian. That's why these labels do not fit. We are melanated people. We, saying that we are a continent. Even people from Africa don't call themselves African American. They are Nigerian American. They are Ethiopian American. They are Ghanaian American. We're just Ghanaian. And even within Ghana, they might be, whatever tribe they are part of. I'm not sure of the Ghanaian tribe, the Akan or whatever they would say. I'm a Akan. Even within that, they're like, I'm a Akan. I'm different from Igbo. I'm different from whatever other tribes. We want to lump ourselves and everybody else together, talking about African, when that's not African. When African people don't even agree with those terms. African people have their own identities. They're part of families, they're part of clans, they're part of tribes, they're part of nations, they're part of countries, they're part of sections of the continent, they're part of the continent, then they're part of the world. So putting all these people in boxes, and all that is a way that they can categorize us and separate us and sort us and do what they want to do with us and our land and our resources. And it's also for African American, quote unquote, people. It is a way to put in their eugenics, put eugenics basically in place and separate us. A lot of people don't have pride in their self because they're like, we don't know who we are. So, I don't want to deal with another African American person because it's an X and Y, Z reason or whatever. They're putting stigmas and stereotypes on individuals based on some type of groupthink and based on their own lack of self. But that's a whole nother subject, and that's not to disrespect anybody. That's just telling the truth. A lot of people have issue or dilemma within themselves because of their lack of identity, and that's why they cling on titles like African American and whatever. They want to be called black, even though we know black has always been a negative word used towards us, and identify with the black community, quote unquote, because we had taken that title and that, that word, we had taken it and tried to make a different thing out of it, just like we did the N word or whatever. But it doesn't mean I like the word. It doesn't mean I like these categories, because that's not truly who our ancestors were. Our ancestors were part of a global identity. They're not identity. They're part of a global people. We didn't have all these borders. If somebody traveled to another place, they were welcome. It wasn't like, oh, you're an outsider, you're not one of us, we're gonna, kill you or whatever. No, it wasn't like that. Everyone was welcome. And that's how we got taken advantage of, because of how we've been to each other for thousands of years. Yeah, so I gotta get going, y'all. I might get on later, I don't know. It's my son, he's a Leo, so he wants a lot of attention. So alright, y'all. It's good talking to y'all. I'm trying to go, I had stopped going live for like a month or two, but I'm gonna try to start coming back doing lives and getting my stuff together for my YouTube channel. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm a Leo too, so I was like, two Leos. My son, me and my son trying to get attention from each other. So yeah, so thank you all. And like I said, the out of Africa theory I think is racist. I suggest everyone read up on eugenics and the theory of evolution, Charles Darwin, and do the research. Please share this video out. People who are watching it, who are on my friends list, please follow. And just spread this information, because it needs to be talked about. Even if you think I'm wrong, this information needs to be discussed, because, a lot of people just go with the flow. So we need to talk about it. If you agree with the theory, the out of Africa theory, that's good. Y'all should talk about it. If you don't agree, then, please talk